The issues affecting you. Revealed, explained, discussed. Now on WGAL 8 in Focus.
Hello, I'm Susan Shapiro. The Drag Queen Story Hour at the Lancaster Public Library was canceled before it ever began, but the fallout continues. Lancaster Pride planned the Drag Queen Story Hour for March 23rd at the Lancaster Public Library. On the library's website, it said performer Miss Amy would spread awareness and acceptance by celebrating diversity, inclusiveness, kindness, and love through LGBTQ+ literature for young readers. In early March, Commissioner Josh Parsons posted on X, Drag Queen Story Hour for babies, toddlers, children. Really, Lancaster Public Library, what are you thinking? Parsons made several more postings about the story hour.
Support your full community.
At the commissioners' meeting on March 27th, the commissioners heard from people for and against the event.
We're very much opposed to it. This is an effort to basically take an organization that's supposed to be neutral and inject it into the political sphere. I think that's why they're doing this, and we don't want that in this community.
Organizers of the event disagreed.
There's misunderstanding of what drag story time is. It's a wonderful time to get the community out, queer folks, allies, just get everybody together and spend quality time enjoying some stories, fellowship, just an overall fun time.
News 8 spoke with the executive director of the library a week before the event. She said the library was not making political or sexual statements.
The library's mission is to serve the entire community, especially marginalized communities. This is one way to bring people who may not feel comfortable in group settings that it's a safe place. The library is a safe place.
The day of the story hour, during a planned security sweep of the library, a canine unit alerted police to a suspicious package inside the library. Organizers of the Drag Queen Story Hour canceled the event. Later, an emailed bomb threat targeted the library and homes of people involved. Police evacuated part of downtown Lancaster between the 100 block of North Queen Street and the 100 block of North Lime Street. Police say nothing was found. The package found in the library contained coloring books. The Lancaster County District Attorney's Office says the contents of the threatening email originated out of the country, but the investigation continues. Tonight, we're putting the impact of the Drag Queen Story Hour and the bomb threats in focus. Joining us now are Tiffany Shirley of Lancaster Pride and Christopher Paolini, who performs in drag as Miss Amy. Thank you both for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Tiffany, why did Pride want to hold this event and hold it at the library?
We've had Drag Queen Story Hour at Lancaster Pride every year, and it's been a huge success, and we always have Miss Amy, and the kids love seeing her. So we just thought it'd be great to get partner with the library and have it at the library where it's a little more accessible for families who might not be able to come to Pride.
Why do you think it's important to have something like that?
I think it shows, children like diversity, love is love, that it's a fun time overall, just reading stories and singing songs and dancing.
What do you do at a Drag Queen Story Hour, Chris?
I really like to describe myself when I do these programs as like Mr. Rogers and Maria Von Trapp in a fabulous outfit. I play the guitar and sing songs about love and kindness, and then I read stories about kindness and respecting others, because everyone's different and no one looks the same, and all families are different as well. It's just an overall fun time. I usually have a little dance party at the end where we do the hokey pokey and then, sing some goodbye songs, and it's just a really wholesome, fun time.
But yet some of the critics say this is sexualizing children, it's grooming children. How do you react to that?
It's not any of those things at all whatsoever. None of those topics ever come up. I'm basically just reading stories about respecting others' differences. One of my favorite books to read is by Todd Parr called Be Who You Are, and it goes through the gamut of be old, be young, be a different color, be your own family, just be who you are.
And obviously this is a different program than you might do for adults in a different venue.
Absolutely. What I do, I've been performing for 20 years, so I obviously started doing more adult programming when I started out doing stuff. I only got involved in the Story Hour umbrella about 6 years ago, and what I do for children is completely different than what I would do for an adult audience.
Tiffany, were you surprised that this became such a controversial issue and kind of blew up?
I was completely shocked. We made the event happen with the library, and 13 families were signed up, and it was kind of quiet on our end, and then it just really started spiraling as soon as, you know, some tweets were made, and then it just really just turned into something that it wasn't.
What do you think, caused that? Do you think it was the tweets by the Lancaster County Commissioners?
100%, I think it was. No one really knew that the event was happening besides the families at the library and Lancaster Pride and Miss Amy. And the tweets went live, and it just spiraled, and, it just, news media got a hold of it, and it just got bigger and bigger and bigger.
Was this disappointing to you? You canceled the event because a suspicious, or what was thought to be a suspicious package was found.
Yeah.
And then later we got word of bomb threats.
Yeah, so we were going to keep moving forward. We made a great safety plan to keep Miss Amy safe, the attendees safe, and, due to a scheduled bomb sweep, they found something suspicious and evacuated the library. And at that point we decided that, enough is enough, and we canceled just to keep everybody safe.
And then later, serious bomb threats, including your address being published. That had to be scary for you.
It was probably the most terrifying day of my life. My child was at home alone, and I think about it, and everybody says they were protecting the children, and what about my child who was home alone with a bomb threat? Does it not matter what kids we protect, or is it just the certain ones? And that's where I get a little frustrated. Because now my children are terrified about something that they had nothing to do with.
Wow. And I imagine you were probably a bit scared when all of that was going on.
That day and even the day after, I was still kind of unfazed. I'm used to getting this kind of reaction, especially when I'm at a library. It's never been this bad before. We've never had to deal with something like this, but I have been dealing with people protesting and putting out all sorts of false information on social media here and there, or calling libraries and complaining and, showing up the day of with their signs and whatever else. So I'm used to it, which is kind of sad. But when reality hit like a few days later, I was not in a good place. And we were all just kept in contact with each other, people from the library, Tiffany, other people who were all, there that day. We just did daily check-ins to make sure we were okay.
Yeah. Do you have any plans to reschedule this?
We haven't really talked about it. I think we're all just kind of recovering from the aftermath of this, and we're just, taking every day at a time and figuring out how we can do something safely.
Well, thank you very much for sharing. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Coming up next, hear from 2 Lancaster County commissioners who oppose the event and why they say drag has no place in a public library.
This is WGAL 8 in Focus. Coverage you can count on.
The 2 Republican Lancaster County commissioners opposed the Drag Queen Story Hour. We gave them several opportunities to join us on this program, but they did not accept our invitation. At the March 27th commissioners meeting, the commissioners got an earful from people for and against the event. We spoke with both commissioners after that meeting.
This is what we do. We debate public policy, and we talk about things that we disagree with. For the most part, people in Lancaster County, the vast majority of them out there, not only support our position on this, but they support the fact that we're able to have open public debates. This is what a radical small minority of people wants to shut down. They don't want to hear an opposing view on that, and if you express an opposing view on it, they say that is violence. And that's not true. In this country, free speech is not violence. We need to hold those accountable who actually are violent, but we're allowed to have public policy debates, and I'm not going to let people who want to shut those down, I'm not going to let that happen. I'm not going to be silenced, and I'm not going to be canceled.
Look, you can respect people, care for people, but not necessarily agree with them. And that's what we really want to let everybody know, is that we can have that. We do generally have that in this community. We've heard from constituents who said this is not appropriate. It's not age appropriate. I've done research. You don't have to do a whole lot of research, quite frankly. Drag queen, in general, it's a sexualized issue. It's adult-themed thing that happens normally in the evening, and it happens where there is, sexual innuendo. There were some words put out by performers that really aren't appropriate for kids, about kids. So there's a real concern in this community about having a performer who does adult entertainment coming and having a story hour for kids. That's the issue. We said that if a soccer coach or baseball coach said some of the things, did some of the things that we're talking about as a main part of what they do, the parents would not want to have that person as a coach. And it's the same thing with having a public, and I want to stress that, a public story hour. It's just not appropriate for the public space. Look, adults can do what they want, and in terms of what they do, parents can, of course, if they feel that that's what they want their kids to do, fine, but not necessarily in the public space. And that's our job as county commissioners, is the health and welfare of the public. We provide tax dollars to the libraries, and so we have a duty to speak out regarding this issue.
In a statement on social media, Democratic Commissioner Alice Yoder referred to the loss of several LGBTQ plus young people and said, quote, "Let me be clear, this is not the job of your county commissioners. We have urgent work on this board, dispersing of opioid settlement funds to address substance use disorder, working to address homelessness, planning programming for our new jail, and so much more. This is not an issue that we should be performing political theater around while these other urgent needs go unmet. A children's story hour with a drag queen shows kids to love themselves authentically and is not in any way harmful. This is an optional program that parents can choose or not choose to bring their children to." Coming up on WGAL 8 in Focus, we'll talk with the mayor of Lancaster and the police chief to discuss the impact this is having on the Red Rose City.
This is WGAL 8 in Focus. Coverage you can count on.
Joining us now are the mayor of Lancaster, Deneen Sirachi, and the police chief in Lancaster, Richard Mendez. Thank you both for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Mayor, did you initially think this was an appropriate place to have this type of story hour, the public library in Lancaster?
You know, I didn't know anything about it, actually, because that had been advertised for weeks. The library hosts a lot of different events, and it was only through the kind of public commenting and the escalation of the number of people that were coming and the amount of social media attention that was being paid for it that it was brought to my attention. The library hosts lots of events, as I mentioned, and I think it is completely appropriate for a parent to decide if they're going to go to a story hour at a public library.
Did it concern you because there was some backlash and some opposition to it?
I think that we always have to be concerned when we get into a situation where we are having such intense, heated debate and it's taking place in social media and people aren't directly talking to each other. I think that that is always a concern.
How about you, Chief? How did you prepare and how did your officers prepare for, what was somewhat of a heated event?
Yeah, so first and foremost, our responsibility is the safety of the residents, community, visitors in our city. So there was another event going on that was going to bring a large crowd in. This was potentially bringing another large crowd in. There were two opposite sides that were, it was heated on both sides, and so our safety, worrying about the safety of the city was our first job to do.
And even before this event got started or anything happened, you did a sweep of the library.
Correct. One of the things we had pre-planned was to have the police explosive detection canines check the area of the library, Ewell Plaza, and Binns Park for any packages or any suspicious items.
And then there was a hit on a package that just happened to be in the library. How did that happen?
Yes, so early on, pretty much at the start of it, one of our canines alerted to a package that was inside the library. Subsequently, shortly after that, a second canine hit on the same package. So at that point, we had to lock down the library in the area to handle that suspicious package at the time.
Which turned out to be coloring books. So how does that happen?
Yeah, so the canines are trained on scents, so they're trained on chemical compounds. The list of all the items they're trained on, the scents. So the canines alerted to a scent that they were trained on that was on that package. Could have occurred in storage. It could have been stored next to something that had the scent that they were trained on, or just in shipping. It could have been shipped alongside a package that contained something that they would have been trained to alert on.
And Mayor, I imagine you were kept in a loop about all of this on that Saturday morning?
Yeah, I was actually preparing to come down to the station to be present for our Emergency Operations Center and participate in making sure that we were getting communications out, that our team had what they needed. I think Chief called me like 3 minutes after he got the report about the package. And I think that then that just sort of became the first part of a lot of disinformation about the day, because the package was actually already inside the library. It was not outside the library. No one had left it there. There were not cameras around that were going to see this package. And so then we knew that we had to really be deliberate about the communications throughout the day.
And did you advise the group to cancel the event as a result?
We did not advise anyone to cancel the event. What we did have to clear the library till we could have the people that would come and render it safe come. But as far as canceling the event, we had nothing to do with.
And that was very disruptive, even just that initial thing, blocking off all these streets and taking action.
Yes, it was. Definitely for the 100 block of Queen Street, but then later on in the day, it became even more disruptive. And so, you know, we're really pleased that no one was injured in the day's events, and that you know, we were able to resume operations in the city around 3:30 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, and lift that evacuation order, too.
Yes.
Well, the subsequent bomb threats were pretty scary, and we'll talk more about that when we come back.
This is WGAL 8 in Focus. Coverage you can count on.
We continue our conversation with the mayor of Lancaster and the police chief in Lancaster. Now, hours after the package was found, emails went out that I'll read in part said, bring the fire department. We placed pipe bombs as well as fuel bombs. Will likely cause a fire spreading to other buildings. Evacuate so no innocents die. You are degenerates, pedophiles, child abusers, and it goes on from there. What's your concern when something like that went out to the library and to other people?
I think I was just heartbroken that this was the kind of message that was coming to the community for an event that parents were going to take their kids to. And you can agree or disagree with that, but at the end of the day, these were parents that were taking their children to an event. They were going to be in a room with a person who was reading a story and singing songs. And just to that level was really disheartening to me. And also just like, okay, now it's like we spring into action. And it was frenetic, the response, and also incredibly professional. And I was so proud of our team for how they responded to make sure that everyone was safe. And we had to take it seriously.
I was going to say, Chief, you have to take something like that seriously, whether it is or isn't.
Yes, I mean, ultimately we have to protect the community, and when threats like that come in, our first reaction is we have to make sure everybody's safe. And you know, it was a lot to do, and it happened quickly, but we had everything in place with our team there that I felt like it was a smooth transition going from the initial package discovery to now we're getting multiple bomb threats.
Yeah. Where is the investigation standing at this point? Or have you been able to track down anything about this email?
So right now it appears, and we're pretty confident, that the email started outside of the country, our country, United States. So we're pretty confident with that. We still are working on some pieces, you know, tying some loose ends up. It's still an active investigation. So we're not anywhere near like totally resolved with it, but we're fairly confident it did not start in the United States.
When you say overseas, do you know where?
Not going to comment on that at this point, but all I can say is it did not. We're confident it did not originate in the United States.
This was certainly very disruptive to the city, wasn't it?
It was extremely disruptive, and it really affected our small business community and also the individual people whose lives were upended. I mean, when you call someone and say, you know, your house, your personal residence, the place that is home for you.
It named names.
Yes,
I mean,
it named names
and addresses.
And addresses. It is very, very scary. And that level of violence is just reprehensible. It has no place in our society to threaten people in that way. And so, yes, it had personal impact for the people that were involved and a tremendous loss of revenue for our downtown businesses.
Do you think comments by the county commissioners that were against this in any way fueled this?
I think it's really important to be careful about speaking intelligently about what actually is happening and to know the facts of what is happening. And sometimes all of us in elected positions need to slow down and make sure that we have our facts absolutely correct, and to make sure that we're not exaggerating a particular situation for a particular political perspective.
Is that what you think that was? Exaggeration?
I think that viewers can decide.
All right, very good. Well, thank you both, and we wish you the best with the investigation, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We asked the executive director of the library to join us for this program, but she declined our offer. The library says it expects to receive $77,000 from the county for 2024. That's 3% of the library's total budget. And this past week, East Hempfield Township supervisors voted to suspend funding for the library system as a result of the Drag Queen Story Hour. That funding, just under $27,000, supports the Mountville Library. Thank you for joining us for WGAL 8 in Focus. For all of us at WGAL, I'm Susan Shapiro. And join us again next Saturday night at 7 o'clock for WGAL 8 in Focus, right after NBC Nightly News. And you can watch each episode of In Focus, plus WGAL's latest newscasts, original programming, and more. Just download the Very Local app and stream for free on Roku and Amazon Fire TV.